these games have been weirdly close, even when the Falcons are not supposed to be any good, including 2019, which was the almost Dan Buns, Dre Greenlaw stop at the goal line, except Julio got in. Jimmy Ward couldn't keep him out. And then, of course, we remember the pick at the stick, which was a bad Falcons team who we thought, as we were standing right there on the field with Chris Berman on our left and Jim Harbaugh wearing his cleats on our right, at least I thought for sure the Falcons were about to score a touchdown until Navarro Bowman appeared out of nowhere. And then all it took was cue Boys to Men. The party is on. But these games have been close. This is a 9.5-point spread. Does that make you uncomfortable?
Really quick on that moment, Navarro Bowman.
Yeah.
I do believe, and part of it, I mean, we were on the field. I do think in all my life, I haven't gone to that many pro games before. I probably got in radio involved with you, or I guess worked in the NFL. That's probably the coolest thing I've ever seen. Just given last night at Candlestick, the historic moments, how loud the place was. Then boys, it was just, I think that's the coolest thing I've ever seen live. Just that minute stretch of the pick, the eruption, the whole fucking thing. On the field, we were standing next to Chris Berman and Jim Harbaugh. Navarro Bowman was right in front of us. We'll probably never have that moment again. Like, you can go to a game, like I've seen Steph Curry do crazy shit, or, a Giants World Series game, but I'm just sitting in the stands, or we were on the field. Now, it was a regular season game, but
Didn't feel like one.
That's about as cool as anything I've ever experienced.
A regular season game for a team that was, like, rolling.
Monday Night Football. It was cool. I mean, I not to try to be hyperbolic, but I do think it's the coolest thing I've ever experienced live. A play. Again, factoring in we were standing there, which made it 50-fold cooler. It was sweet. It was awesome. To me, the line's too big. I do think the Niners win this game because unlike that year, just a couple years ago, it was a weird spot, right? Their record was really good. Falcons had nothing to play for. Year that the Niners game we're talking about, the Bowman play, I do think when you play a game like this on Monday Night Football, I don't give a shit what point in time in the year. Like, anytime you play a Monday Night Football game and you're a good or bad, I just expect the game to be competitive. We see blowouts on Monday Night Football, but I think we've also seen a lot of shitty teams come to play. Like, it's a big deal. It's just an easy one to know everyone's watching you. It's like anyone that played football at any level. Like, if you played in high school, if you play a team with like a couple guys going Division I, it's easy to get up for the game. You're playing on Monday Night Football against a good team. Like, you just give your best shot. But this does feel like they kind of got their mojo back. They've won 5 of the last 7 games. They just have much better players than this team. And they clearly just match up very well and have the last couple years against quarterbacks that can't run around. They should eat this old man alive. Even though it's weird, I'm more scared of him against the Niners than I would be Cousins, even though I think Cousins at this point in time is a better player. But it just feels like Matt Ryan's more likely to have the best game of his season against the Niners. Does that make sense?
Yes, but why? Because he's just a better pass. He's just a more.
I've experienced it twice.
Yeah,
I've just seen it.
Well, let me ask you this: if you're the Atlanta Falcons, you're 6-7. Washington is the 7th seed right now, and they have the same record. So don't you view this game like a must-win game? Like, you still think you're a playoff team. We talk about Atlanta, and I don't have a problem with this, but we talk about Atlanta like they're,
someone
5-8.
Someone DM'd, I don't know if it was me and you or just me. Now, it's very unlikely, but if the Eagles, the Washington, the Vikings, and all these other teams they're all 9-8. You know how the tiebreaker come in when there's 4 or 5 teams? The Niners are kind of fucked because of a certain conference record. Now, but
that conference record is going to change as time goes on, probably.
And it's very, very unlikely. I think it was the Saints and the Eagles. Are they going 3-1 over 4-game stretch? Probably not. And the Niners would have to go 2-2. So it's an unlikely scenario. But he just broke it down that I think someone wrote an article that it would be very unfriendly to the 49ers. They got a 4-way tiebreaker against 4 or 5 teams. So like you said, it's just very incumbent on them. You don't need to be associated with these teams, right? You already are the lead horse in this race. You win this game, you basically just got to win one of the next 2, and then you're in pretty good shape going into that Week 17 game against the Rams, which might have nothing to play for.
Yeah. you do set. I think one of the values here is you just kind of separate yourself a little bit. You move yourself further away from that 8 spot by getting 2 games over 500.
You think they're a heavy underdog the following week, that short week against Titans?
Heavy? No.
When I say heavy, like
if the Niners win this week,
and let's say the Titans beat the Steelers, what would you guess?
I mean, Thursday night road, that accounts for a lot. 4.5.
Yeah.
What do you think? You think bigger?
Yeah, I mean, I could see like Tannehill or someone getting Omicron, and then all of a sudden it's like a big 'em. Yeah, it feels 3-4.
Oh, it's a great point, though. Like, you're kidding, but like the games that you have healthy now, you gotta win them if you're supposed to win them, because you cannot assume next week our quarterback's going to be here, or Kittle's going to be here, or Bosa's going to be here. Yet you cannot pencil anybody. And now, is Kittle going to go? Does Kittle, like Kyle Pitts, come into the league? Kittle, pro tight end, loves all tight ends, but does he want to kind of say, like, I'm the big dog here? 12 for 182 and 2 touchdowns 2 weeks ago, 15, 151 and a touchdown the last. I don't know. Kittle kicks everyone's ass regardless of who's on the other side.
I don't really know who on the Niners covers Kyle Pitts. Not that he can only do so much, but who covers him? Fred Warner, maybe? Jimmy Ward is a bad physical matchup. He's short.
Yeah.
Kyle's big.
You just got to get after the quarterback. That's the thing. Is covering Kyle Pitts is actually about getting to Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. These games, Atlanta's not as bad as I think sometimes I think about them. But I think they kind of are. Should the Niners beat somebody by 9.5? They'll be up by 10 in this game at some point in time. San Francisco. The question is, does it close that way? I'm not saying bet on it, but to me, they are absolutely 10 points better than Atlanta. I don't have any doubt about that.
Does Hightower have a Cordell Patterson touchdown written all over? Because Patterson has counted for like 75 touchdowns this year, and it feels like if you tell me you look up and it's a kickoff or a punt, and all of a sudden Patterson's flying and no one's around him, and we're screaming Hightower, I can see that coming. Hey, Hightower, let's keep an eye on 84 for the love of God. Hey, buddy. I know you may only be employed by the Niners for another 5 weeks. And I'm not rooting for anyone to get fired, just demoted, and Piscaccia might be the next guy. But let's not have a special teams fuck up, because that is the way you lose to a team that's worse than you, right? All of a sudden they get a free kick return by Patterson, and then it's instead of being 14-0, it's 14-7.
That's the only way. This
or
game
Jimmy throws a pick 6.
You're at risk. Well, okay, that's not the only way then. You're right. I take it back. There's multiple ways.
Jimmy tried last week. Old Bates dropped it.
I know.
Hit him in the side.
I just don't think Atlanta's as good as their record. And you're right. They've had some scares before. They don't belong in this game. There's a picture of from Javier Vega on Twitter of Rich in Niners garb. Ali says, I believe the Falcons are number 32 in DVOA. Rebel says, Atlanta's O-line banged up. I believe they have a backup center right guard going up against DJ Jones and Eric Armstead. I have to disagree. I think the Niners match up pretty damn well against the Falcons. I agree with that. I think your point was just who defends Pitts was your question.
They were a 10-point favorite 2 years ago and lost. So that's it's different circumstances, but again, line very similar. December games, the Niners are good enough to take anyone lightly, right? You're not 11-2 here, right? You're 7-6. So it's no like, we're just way better. Like you better approach this fucking thing like you're playing the Patriots. But I don't know, maybe something about the colors, maybe something about the brand. I expect this game to be closer. I have a hard time seeing the Niners blow them out. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't know. Falcons are just weird. I'm with you. I don't view them as good. Matt Ryan, I wouldn't want as my quarterback. He had 13. God, Julio had a big day. They both
look at Kittle.
Jesus.
They each had 13 for 134 and combined for 37 targets.
I'd throw it to those two guys a lot too.
So
I guess the Niners might play Julio depending on his health in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Less than that. Shit, a week from recording this today.
By the way, for reference, we like to bring this back whenever we can. There we are, John, the pick of the stick.
You know what's cool about Candlestick? And maybe this used to be an old NFL rule, but they would let you on the field 5 minutes before the game ended, so you get down there the last 5 minutes. Obviously, if the game was sucked, it didn't matter, but in a moment like that, hell, you might even get an overtime. You know the Raiders at O.co did not that you were not allowed on the field until the game ended.
I thought that was just an NFL league-wide thing. Either you were or you weren't.
No, I just remember the Raiders. It was a no-go.
As the host of
it might
Raiders
have been there was
postgame
nowhere
live,
to
you tried
stand.
to go down there?
I don't know. I never did, but I just remember you couldn't